If you don't question the narrative after this video, you just might not be someone that's going to ever do that. Do you know what city you're looking at here? What about now? Ancient Rome? Greece? Definitely somewhere in Europe, right? Well, what if I told you it was Chicago in 1893? And that all of these structures were Chicago at the World's Fair in 1893. And supposedly, all of this was designed just as a temporary city to be demolished at the end of the fair. They called it the White City, and everything was just painted white, and it wasn't made of stone, but just a mixture of plaster and cement, so it was real easy to take down at the end of the fair. But you see, here's where the narrative starts to crumble. The Museum of Science and Industry, which was supposedly created during the World's Fair, is right there, and this is a picture from that time period. And this building, supposedly which was created for the World's Fair as a temporary structure, still stands in Chicago to this day. And with a quick Google search, you can see that the Museum of Science and Industry is made of limestone. And when you look at the buildings that used to be here, that were supposedly facades and made of plaster, you quickly see they're the same material. And then you drive down the street just a little bit to find Soldier Field with the exact type of columns and limestone structure. And then you research when Soldier Field was first constructed, and it says 1922. And all the construction photos, all of them, all show the columns already standing. Literally, all of them. It's funny, there are no pictures of construction without the columns. Even the earliest one I found, with no stadium at all, still had the columns. Could it be that these columns and these types of structures found all over the world and all over the United States, like in New Hampshire here, and Philadelphia, and Washington, and San Francisco, and Madison, Wisconsin, and again, back to Chicago, could all be coming from a time period where we actually had very advanced technology that they don't want us to know about. Because if we did, we would know that we're not just always evolving and getting smarter, and that we don't know better than our ancient ancestors, who all thought the Earth was an enclosed system with a dome over it. And that if we knew that technology existed to move rocks with sound or to use lasers to cut images in stone, then we might realize technology's always been here. Because technology doesn't come from the brains of men. It comes from the will of God. And the fallen angels chose to exchange technology for women. And if we knew there's been technology and advancement all along, then it opens your eyes to the fact of what's actually going on in the world. And that's a whole big topic for another time, but it's a spiritual thing. And that brings me all the way back to the beginning of where I started this. Because if you knew the type of technology and advanced buildings and structures from this to the pyramids, and that we've always had that, then you don't believe the narrative that is hand-fed to you through the textbooks and through the indoctrination of general education. And once you realize all of that is garbage, you see that this is where you actually live. And once you see this, like I keep saying, you take all your power back and you realize the only laws you have to follow are the laws of God. So if you believe the narrative that these beautiful structures were all created with paper mache with the intent of taking them down right after the World's Fair, and they just happened to build the one that's still standing regularly with limestone, then you probably still think you live here and that our government is looking out for our best interest, and that these guys aren't really running the show. But as always, all of this was just for entertainment, of course. I don't believe any of these things I say. Just to entertain you guys. Entertainment purposes only.